Abbasid mirror. I kind of surprised by this. Do you feel like a lot of players right now go out of their way to avoid mirror matchups? Because we have been seeing them a lot less frequently these days.
I think so. Like mirror matchups are really, really uncomfortable for most people, right? It's
Yeah.
like usually you don't want to play a mirror.
Yeah, because it just
It's
becomes really trivial, right? Like, oh, I made this one tiny mistake, or all the generation seemed a little bit mean. I get what you mean. It's funner to just have the twists and turns of having to adapt with a different civ, an asymmetrical matchup.
mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, you guys may be noticing we're a little bit blank right now. These guys are just so big brain, we're trying to process the information. Apologies for that. We should get that sorted soon. But for those wondering what's going on, who's who, HuT is playing as the red Abbasids and VortiX will be playing as the blue. I feel like this was the perfect situation for the overlay to go missing, is when we're doing a mirror matchup where you need it most. Oh dear, oh dear.
Both players decided to go with ship opening, no berries. That's interesting.
Yeah, I always feel like I've talked about this in length. I don't want to get your take because I'm just a pleb, right, Mister? You know what you're talking about here. I personally feel like the berries make a lot more sense because it's the riskier eco, and it's a better gathering rate.
It has to do with the timings. So if you're going to take the fastest wheelbarrow possible, then opening with a mill, it actually makes sense. But if you do that, you need to gather another extra 100 wood, right? Because you won't have enough wood to make
Whoops.
your lumber camp.
Oh, sorry. Apologies, guys. We seem to have had a glitch in the matrix. We're doing a restart of our backends, which is why now you're just joined by me and Mister in what we call the black zone. This is where all players' dreams
The
come to
void.
come to die. Yeah, it's
The void.
the void. But you notice that Mister survives here. He thrives here. You know, he doesn't let. He's too positive to disappear. So apologies for that. We should have backup in a second, but continue. Like you were saying about the fact that the sheep versus berries build depends on
Yeah.
your build.
So basically, the moment you choose to go with berries, right, you need to gather extra wood, and in order to build the mill. And if you have the mill, why not get wheelbarrow? Now, if you do all that, you delay your raids up,
Mm.
and by delaying your raids up, you're actually creating more expensive villagers for a bigger amount of time. So it's kind of debatable. You sacrifice something and you're getting something else. I don't think there is a right approach. I mean, I think both ways are kind of correct.
Yeah.
In the one, you gather more resources. In the other one, you're saving up resources.
Ooh. Mister, if you refresh your perspective quickly, we should be back in. It looks like we are back underway. Apologies for that, folks. We didn't miss too much. Seems like they're still delaying those berries, but I get where you come from, right? Like they're kind of tight timings. I guess that's very important in the mirror matchup. Like you never want to fall behind, especially as the Abbasids, considering any delay, you can't recover, right? It's not like other civs where, oh, he beat me to feudal. I'm just going to add 2 or 3 more villages to the build-up.
Yep. And like, yeah, obviously timings are important, right? You're gonna get your TC, you're gonna get one extra villager faster out, you're gonna gather 50 resources faster, but it all comes down to how you're gonna transition into what you're doing and the pressure that you're going to apply to your opponent.
And does it feel like VortiX is going for more pressure? Like, logically, he should be able to stay on sheep longer because he went for the 2 scouts. Do you see him trying to bring the fight to HuT with this type of opening?
Yeah, he's applying pressure. He's actually like when you have your villagers being attacked by scouts, you have idle time. So as long as VortiX keeps the pressure on those villagers and keeps damaging them, he might even have a chance to follow it up with some horsemen and actually do some extra damage on them.
And the cool thing by going 2 scouts, it means you get more of those sheep, so you can just kind of be condensed on your TC longer. I quite like it. I think genuinely just having 2 scouts, even in a Abbasid mirror, is nice just from the vision perspective, so you can actually transition when you see your opponent doing something.
Yeah, I agree. Like having 2 scouts that you know exactly where your opponent town centers are, where he's gonna place them, so you know where you're going to apply pressure. On the other hand, like HuT has literally no vision, knows nothing. He doesn't know if his opponent opens stable. He doesn't know where. He doesn't even know the part of the map from VortiX. He doesn't know where he could place the town centers.
Yeah. It's blind AoE, I call that a GG. It's the way I felt all the time. I remember that was kind of like one of the tips I always try to give people, and they're like, you know, how do I improve my game? It's like, well, I'm no master of it myself, but knowing what your opponent is doing is a good idea, especially when you consider Age of Empires is a game of transitions and counters.
But then again, you have the expectation. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're playing an Abbasid mirror on this type of Lipani, you know that like 99% your opponent is going to go for a fast down sender, maybe follow it up with like some early horseman like we see here,
Yeah.
which I like, the early horseman. It means that HuT won't be able to place his third down sender in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think like Horsemen just right now, they feel like the S tier unit. I mean, we've seen how effective they are in the late game. They're also the only unit that can deny vision early on by chasing scouts. Like, it's kind of crazy to say that out loud when you think about it. Like, when vision's so important, there's only one unit in the game that can actively chase away and kill the unit giving that vision. Wow, interesting. So it looks like HuT did go for a defensive TC. I guess he was kind of expecting this aggression to come out. Usually, like, when you see your opponent showing up with the scouts like that, there's probably give that horseman follow-up you talked about. Does mean that he's not really getting any additional value. Because I find most Abbasid players, they either try to secure the first wood line fully with the second TC, or they try to get a new food source from it.
Now, the thing is that this horseman will, like, if you start with the two scouts damaging the villagers, delaying the timing of the town center, then the horseman comes, doesn't let the town center being built on top of food, and then the horseman comes and starts harassing the villagers. This is an insane amount of damage done by VortiX.
An insane amount of greed from HuT. I guess this is his only option, right? He has to go additional TCs, and the problem we already highlighted is you're playing blind AoE, so in some ways, does this feel like he's going more TCs because he's paranoid VortiX might as well?
No, he's just stuck into the meta,
Okay.
I think most people have in their mind that 3TC is the only way in this matchup. There's no way to punish it. And actually, VortiX is not punishing the 3TC. He's just containing it, and he's ruining the timings of the 30C while he's himself going 30C behind it.
Do you think there's any sort of way in this matchup? You mentioned like this is kind of the go-to, everyone agrees it. Do you think there's room for like 2TC quick castle with the Abbasid mirror matchup, or does it have to be the free TC builds?
I've tried it a lot of times. It doesn't seem to work. I think it's the Camel Archers. The Camel Archers is what's kind of ruins things, because you have to deal, like if you go Lancers, you have like those really good spears from the Abbasid.
Yeah.
And if you go for Men at Arms, you have Camel Archers. So you can't, like, and the walking distance is really high, so you can't really be on time and punish it. He will have units and he will stop you.
That's a fair point. Well, speaking of being stopped, HuT, VortiX knew exactly what he wanted. He had come down here for the deer. Looks like he will be able to get the TC up due to the Spearman being out, so good reaction from HuT, but still very condensed. I'm curious to see how wide VortiX wants to build, considering there's been zero pressure onto his side of the map.
VortiX has access to every single berry boost there is, and he's uncontested. And I'm pretty sure he's gonna go for a fourth down sender.
He has to, right? Like I think he went for very condensed TCs here, which was a little bit surprising considering the openings.
I think because he chose to do that in order to get them as fast as possible out, because how the game goes, he has the map control. Like it's really hard for HuT to leave his base and push towards VortiX base.
I get what you mean. It's that kind of thought, like sometimes you want to TC down on another resource to secure it, but because he forced HuT to open with a defensive format, right, with the condensed TCs and the racks, there's less threat that HuT's going to be aggressing the mid-map.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so.
Well, we will see HuT at least try to do that, now chaining in the stables. Okay, so I've had some kind of opinions on this. Like the reason why I was asking about the castle rush, if that can work, is in a feudal and feudal prolonged. It feels very hard to overwhelm an Abbasid base without siege due to the fire armor. Do you think there's maybe too many little perks that have come together for the Abbasids in the current patch?
Yeah, I think the plus 15% gathering rate was quite unnecessary.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons that Abbasid is overperforming right now. It's because they just have insane eco, and at the same time they're paying so little for their villagers, which means that they, with a little amount of food, they can pump out so many villagers and units at the same time. You only need 6 villagers from food to keep making villagers from 3 town centers with Abbasid, which is
Yeah,
kind of crazy if you think about it.
It's absurd. I've always like tried to highlight the people like this is the most efficient civ at setting up a TC. They might not build it quicker. Like if China wanted to get one and they put the mind to it, they'll do it quicker, but they won't be able to afford it as quickly as the Abbasids, which is pretty nuts to think about. I think the other tough part is they're very difficult to aggress early on, not just because of how cost efficient they are, but also because of how well they handle all the types of rushes. So like Outpost rushes got nerfed, but they can build rams instantly. Then there's the fire armor, so you can't easily torch down their buildings. The fire armor that you get from the Golden Age aura is pretty nuts.
Well, it's the amount of resources that they're getting and the amount of resources that they can use.
Yes.
Now, berries with golden age and the bonus from the Abbasid sieve, it's close to 30% gathering rate. That's faster than Deers. Actually,
absurd.
it's not faster than Deers, but it's almost as close as Deers.
Wait, so Berry's 0.66, Dira's 0.84. I'm pretty sure it is by default, right? Or it's more or less the same. And then, of course, like you're saying, the Golden Age gathering rate on top of the 30% on berries that the Abbasis get, yeah, it just puts you up to 4 levels. Which is bonkers. like I always feel like every time I point that out and I say it out loud, my brain has a sigh. It's like, why? It's so good.
It's their economy. Abbasid economy is just really, really strong right now.
Yeah. And I think the meta suits them. If you think about the type of units you want to build, Horseman, Spearman kind of reign supreme right now. Because food, wood type units, right? And if you think what the Abbasids do, we've seen them, and they're doing it right now. They're spamming the crap up Horseman, and even in the late game, they're Spearmen. I'd say they're the best Spearmen in the game. I don't think anyone else can even think about trying to take that tile away from them.
Yeah, you go military wing as well. They have more HP.
More HP, double attack range, really powerful. And the Spearmen are coming in mass for HuT. We can see at the end of this, like VortiX is ahead on the Camel Arch account. Now remember, folks, they do get bonus damage up against the spears, so HuT has to be careful not to overextend, or he might just be whittled away at by the range comp. I'm wondering.
And one of the reasons why Abbasid is so good in this type of engagements, early engagements, it's because of the Camel Archers.
Yes.
It's like one extra unit that you have that does so much damage to its counter unit. And at the same time, it's debuffing opponent cavalry, right? So it's like double purpose.
Yeah, that's the absurd part, right? You get the double damage up against the spears, then top of that, you're taking away 20% damage from what's probably the other 50% of your opponent's army, cavalry. And you mentioned, like, you know, the way that you kind of scale. If you want to rush towards castle, you mentioned those lancers, hard to go towards the camels. It's kind of funny how many of these different builds get counted now by camels after we spent more or less the entire release of the game saying that camels were terrible.
I never thought that camels were terrible.
You were in the minority, mister. You had an idea. Most people thought these were genuinely the worst animal in the game. I'm actually wondering if VortiX maybe missed an opportunity to go aggressive here. I think he's wrapping around now, which makes sense. Like, he can't fight the spears directly, but he's going to need some type of extra layer of defense here, right? Like, you won't be able to hold it home with the new line of forces against these spears.
Yeah, and he should have walled the right side of his base, VortiX.
And HuT, well, HuT didn't really have the option to try and wall his right side here, and that's going to sting him. Several villagers going down. Good rotation by VortiX. Love the way that he utilized the walls to delay the pushing from HuT to get this value.
And the villager difference is quite big right now.
Over the flood.
Premier.
The boys are in. But VortiX, I mean, this wall actually bought him enough time to get a decent amount of spears up. With the Camel Arch account now up at 6, you can't help but feel like this push from HuT is going to have limited impact. In fact, I'm going to go out on a whim here and say that the impact is pretty much non-existent.
He lost the Camel Arches. VortiX lost all of his Camel Arches.
true.
Those units are really expensive.
That's true. I think like the more important thing here is now HuT's going to have the additional TC. So VortiX has to choose if he tries to go 4 TCs. Do you think instead maybe he tries to go towards Castle Age? He is floating a lot of wood and gold that he could trade.
I think he should already have placed a 4th town center. Just like HuT did, he should have done the same. If he placed the town center on the left side next to the fight, like when he went to get the berries, he would have been fine. He didn't even need his army there to defend.
That's
Like
fair.
Camel archers plus a town center with 10 villagers inside is enough to push out units without ramps really easily.
This is getting a little bit puzzling what VortiX is intending with his economy. I mean, he's continuing to overboom in gold and wood. He's getting a few tech upgrades, so that kind of makes sense. But like overall, is this him just prepping for a farm transition in feudal?
I think he just miscalculated the amount of food that he has. As you can see, there's a deer pack on the right side of his base, which he didn't gather, and he walled it off while he could have easily walled in.
Oops. Kind of makes you wonder if... I imagine he scouted. He had double scout, so he should have seen up here. But yeah, as you can see, it's on the high ground, pretty stacked up. And HuT, man, this is sneaky. No attention is coming west side, and he knows it. Because VortiX has now been forced to go into spears, mass spears, in fact. It's more likely he takes the shortest route. Cool little play to play the flanks here. It means HuT, despite the fact he's gone super greedy, looks like he's going to get away with it.
Yeah, as long as he walls and he doesn't get any raids in his economy, just like the first one next to his town center, he should be fine.
VortiX. Looks like he's trying to go hard and
preparing.
fast. Yep, the Rams. You need him as well. He's also getting phalanx. I don't know if HuT actually had phalanx when he went for that push. I'd imagine so, considering he's up at 20 spearmen plus. But if not, that's going to be a big difference in favor of VortiX in the next fight.
VortiX is aging, or he's about to age. He's aging, yeah. VortiX is also aging. And this is something that you will rarely see to a civilization apart from Abbasid. 2,000 food per minute at 16 minutes in the game.
It's pretty absurd. I mean, he found it useful at the Rams. The problem is I love this little play out of HuT. The walls to slow him down, to make him wrap around into a choke point where the spearman can hold long enough that the archers can pick him apart. Horseman wrapping around, but flank attack coming in from HuT. He'll re-establish the front line and push back against his. VortiX knows he can't overextend. Right now, he's been a greedy boy. Going for the tech up the castle means he's not fully invested in this push, so HuT will be able to stabilize.
Yep, and the archers are the MVPs of this fight.
I mean, I think the wall as well, right? That wall just creating that choke point between the stone outcropping and the defenses meant that there was no surround onto those archers. Really well played by HuT.
There were also 2 towers helping, by the way, which is also kind of important.
That's true. Archers plus more archers than the towers equals a good time for HuT. And now he's going to begin his tech up. Keep in mind, VortiX is about, I think, halfway through. However, he's lost a lot of troops. And if you look at the military count, VortiX might be in trouble, especially if HuT sees that tech up complete. Which I think he's going to. I feel like this is going to be a Congo line straight into the base of VortiX. And the timing is perfect.
I think the Menatowns will be able to push HuT away.
And because you can't hang around torch is the problem, right? Like if you had a ram or two, you could do some damage here, but with the extra 5 fire armor and you having feudal units, HuT's only choice, it seems, is to just dive deeper and maybe look for some eco to snipe.
Yeah, like I guess HuT should have pressured from the left side where all the food is, instead of going hammering inside the base. Like the moment Menatowns come out, like there's no more damage that can be done here.
Yeah, maybe you just kind of trick your brain, like, well, the wood line's gone. Maybe he made a mistake. He didn't really... No, the whole wood is gone because VortiX was a greedy boy. He definitely knew that was an open battlefield and plays to his benefit here. Means that VortiX will be able to stabilize in his own base, but HuT's at least going to make him pay a high price for it. We'll be able to delay the first castle age units from getting out on the field and starting to dominate that mid-map. And oh my... Okay.
That's migration.
The great migration?
Villages.
60 villages? I don't remember the last time in one of these matches in Wololo I saw this many villagers running around their base like this.
That is a lot of damage. That's an insane amount of damage, even if he doesn't kill a single villager.
It's so much idle time. I mean, so let's do the calculations here, right? Let's say this was 30 seconds idle time, 60 villagers, and they gather at 40 resources per minute.
It's more than 30 seconds. It was more like a minute, to be honest.
Yeah, it's absurd. Like the numbers he's missing at that point. I mean, that's potentially like 2,000 resources you just don't have because of that idle time.
Yeah. Look at the food from VortiX. 0 food per minute. It's
Yeah,
like
he's rushing the farms. Like I think he had several hundred wood still, right? Like you can see the desperation when he's transition farms. Like HuT's timing may actually pay off. The only concern right now is the count of men at arms in the field for VortiX.
Yeah, that's a lot of Menatowns. But only HuT needs to do is keep making some Camel archers and crossbowmen in the back, and he should be fine.
He's looking pretty fine in his base. No raids are coming in anymore. He's still playing pocket ecos. And I guess this is once again the issue of being forced to go for a static comp. VortiX, unlikely to go and explore these ecos on the flanks and punish HuT. He's likely going to have to just rush down the center of the MAA. Flash comes out. This is the deceptive part actually about Abbasids. When there's spears versus man-at-arms, you'd think the MAA would win, but double the amount of spears are attacking compared to the heavily armored man-at-arms. It means you're doing somewhat comparative damage as long as you have enough spears to double up.
Yeah, and the thing is, men-at-arms don't have any bonuses, right? So they're good against low armored units, and like they can hold their own. But like when you have units, lots of units in front of you, you can't really stay in a fight.
No.
You have to run.
And it's going to get worse. I mean, if he can't beat spears, the crossbows are coming through soon. The only upside right now for VortiX are the lancers that have been going on flank attacks. Has given an eco lead over to him. HuT is in the middle of a farm transition. And it's very important. If he can get in here and he can flank around to those farms, which he know were structured on the backside here, and he can idle VortiX at this point, it could easily prevent him from escalating that front line that VortiX has been holding on with.
Yeah, but VortiX has no access to food apart from the deers on the right that for some reason he ignored. Like, VortiX has to farm now.
And with limited space, the safe as well. Like, you feel very exposed despite the choke points in this map. And oh my, that Mangonel might not be long for this world. Spearman trying to move in, not able to do it. But the villagers, again, this is getting ridiculous. Yeah, just go back to work. At this point, honestly, this is better than just standing there and dying anyway. Just chop some trees and die. Oh my lord.
I would love if HuT start making some keeps from the left side and the right side of the map.
I'd love to eventually get some like advanced stat where it can show you the amount of eco missing out due to like idle eco. Because the number must be incredibly high for VortiX now, which is good news for HuT. Right? We got to remember, this is a guy on the edge of making it to Wololo, right? He's at the tippy top of the weekly leaderboards. If he has a good performance here, he'll find himself in the semis. If he makes the finals, it's not 100% guaranteed, but you can almost feel like it seems an obvious shoe-in at that point that he'll make it based on weekly points to Heidelberg.
Yeah, he's really close. And I think even if he doesn't make it from weekly points, I'm pretty sure he will qualify in one of the last two tournaments.
Absolutely.
HuT has been playing really, really well lately.
He's really stepped it up. I think he's impressed so much in the last maybe like a month and a week. I think he's really where it started to come into the picture. And I love it. I felt like for a while, it looked like HuT maybe wasn't able to put in as many hours before. But he's found the time now, and it's definitely been paying off.
By the way, there is a stat in the match in the post-game statistics that it shows the average idle time of a villager.
That's true. But you have to I wish we could have a way of putting that into like actual resource numbers, just to show how catastrophic it is. But yeah, there is that at the end. I mean, right now though, VortiX, he has got a strong force. He's pop capped first. However, I love HuT and the way he's playing this. He's not just reacting his own base. He's going counter-attack. He knows that as he pushes new troops, they'll be able to defend at home. He wants to try and shut down VortiX in his own base again. Uh-oh. I've seen this before. Doesn't usually happen in a pro level lobby, but I'm pretty sure he's about to be held hostage by a single relic wielder.
I think this is happening because none of the two players made keeps. I think the moment you get a good advantage in Castle Age, you need to make some keeps in order to make sure that things like this do not happen.
That's true, and VortiX has a lot of stones, just he hasn't really been able to drop one yet. And the problem is now with this army still in the front of his base, he can't get a premium keep location. The only thing that you can drop it on is the west side, which will at least get you wood, but nothing else. This is just chaotic right now. I mean, you're finally going to see HuT forced to engage in his own base and address VortiX here, but something that is going to get a little bit scary is VortiX, with his gathering rates being as they are, with the amount of unharassed eco he now has, I wouldn't be surprised if he reaches Imperial Age first.
I think VortiX has an advantage right now. Like, his economy is just like, looks really, really good. 3,000 food per minute.
Yeah, it's very efficient. Meanwhile, you look on the other side, HuT, I don't know. Does he think there's a flood coming? Is he trying to be the new Noah? Because with that much wood, it looks like he's trying to build a boat.
think he will do the farm transition as well.
Yeah.
He's just slower on it, I guess, because of the pressure.
Yeah, I think you want to get the stone walls up first as well, so you can expand to the west side. And the cool thing, actually, the way he laid himself on that west side, it also blocks out mid-map control leading to a sacred site victory, as one of those sacred sites is behind the walls.
I'm gonna mention again the keeps. I don't like that none of them is making keeps.
Hey!
Actually, VortiX has done his first.
There you go. He's like, don't worry, Papa Mister, I got you covered. No, it doesn't feel like it necessarily blocks out that much, though, right?
It's no, actually, it actually blocks the choke point. So check the cliff in front of HuT's base.
True.
So if he wants to go to the left side, he has to go back to his base and then go to the left side.
Oh, fair. Yeah,
While
that's a fair
VortiX
point.
can switch really easily from side to side.
Well, unfortunately for VortiX, it seems that HuT was never intending to come from the west side. It's an east side march. He's got mangoes in play. Interesting choice as well by HuT, considering there's no range to really attack here. VortiX, by the way, is not hanging around. We were right. He's going to be the one moving for Imperial Age first. We'll be able to defend in the meantime. Spears bracing against each other as the horsemen now wrap around onto the crossbows. And the crossbows don't stand their ground. That means the mangoes are going down. Mangoes right now getting some premium value, sniping out the spearmen on the front side. But the wraparound, good enough to at least bring down one of the siege weapons. The follow-up reinforcements coming out from VortiX should allow him to push HuT back and remain safe while going for Imperial.
And that Imperial, the moment he switches into elite Camel archers, it's gonna be really hard for HuT. And the more they keep trading armies, the harder it's gonna be for HuT to get into the Imperial as well.
I guess it's also, even if he gets there, you start thinking about, like, what's the territory carve-up? Who has control where? And you look at, like, the wood situation. Makes you wonder, actually, if somehow by generation HuT has got some sort of fallback plan there, because he did get some easy access wood spawns here, right? Like on the left side.
The thing, though, is yes, VortiX is going into the Imperial, but with 800 gold per minute, he won't be able to get any elite upgrade. So it's like, it will be as if he's not going Imperial. Like, you need at least 2,000 gold per minute while you're going to Imperial in order to get key elite upgrades.
And then, you know, HuT, meanwhile, he says, I know I'm already castle, but I'm going to go castle, if you know what I mean. It's going to be a keep drop right next to VortiX's base, and the timing might prove perfect. Like you said, VortiX has a hard choice, only enough gold to get one upgrade. And the other purpose of this aggressive keep, you can see it there, medical centers is online, meaning HuT can now trade more favorably and instantly into the outpost Zerg, just to try and block off the forward infrastructure in VortiX's base.
Something that I really like from HuT is his map presence all over the map. He has a really, really good vision on the map. On the other hand, if you see VortiX vision, it pretty much is only in front of his base, nothing else.
Yeah, it honestly feels like he shouldn't be too surprised that this assault came in, considering he wasn't really pressuring flanks, he wasn't really holding great vision. We mentioned that keep on the left side, but it wasn't an aggressive keep, right? It wasn't forcing a reaction out of HuT in any way. It blocks his assault, yes, but it doesn't block him from gathering vital resources.
Yeah, I would have preferred 2 keeps from VortiX. Like, you decide to go Imperial, so you should make 2 keeps in those 2 choke points, one on the left, one on the right. That gives you enough time in order to get into the Imperial by the time the fort dies, the keep dies, and get those sweet elite upgrades. And then you can fight.
And the bonkers part is that he could have done that, right? Like, you can see the stone. He had enough stone before to go for a secondary keep. He could have had it up way before HuT arrived, but it's something else in his mind, maybe. He was possibly intending to go for an aggressive keep drop before he could get away with this, maybe?
I think so, too. Yeah, I think so.
Gluttony.
I think he just didn't want to make a keep in front of his base.
Yeah, despite the fact that it would have protected him, despite the fact that, like, if you get medical centers, these investments actually are worthwhile because they become soft fallback locations where you can heal up. Or in HuT's case, on the front line, you can heal up.
Let me confess a sin of mine. I've never, ever, ever upgraded the heal sender. I always forget about it. I've never, ever clicked that upgrade. I'm not joking. I've never got that upgrade. Never in my life.
What I appreciate is you didn't try to, like, give this argument of it sucks or whatever. It was like, no, I just forget.
Yeah, I just forget that it exists.
I get it. I mean, you know, you live on a farm, you live off the land. You don't need to go see a doctor. Why should your troopers in the field as well? You know, just get on with it.
I try to maintain my unit's health.
Exactly. Just just min-max them. If they're on the edge of life, they're just living life at its fullest, I guess, is the logic there. But HuT doesn't see it that way. He's a member of the Commonwealth. He appreciates the NHS system. And oh no, oh no, no, no! The death cry of 1,000 villagers. Okay, not exactly 1,000, but it feels that way. VortiX with the repull, but that's going to be more going down. So many villagers dead to stabilize here, and yet he's still losing the fight on the front side of his base.
And HuT can easily just move his units inside the food economy of VortiX. He doesn't need to stay under the keep, because those keeps have boiling oil, by the way.
I find that does mess with your skin a little. Don't want to hang around that too long. Instead, you want to go flay some skin, and oh, great! It's a great villager migration again. How many times does this happen in a game before you just feel like it's over? I'm impressed that VortiX had this great idle time on his villager force happen twice, and yet he somehow maintained semblance of control in this game. But
it's a really bad feeling, like having like 50 villagers in a place and then your opponent comes with 10, 20 units and you're like, my army is not here, and you know deep in your heart that this thing might actually make you lose the game.
I mean, it's starting to feel like a loss at this rate, VortiX. I struggle to see the easy way to recovery. He's massing crossbows, and that can be dangerous in an Abbasid mirror, considering all those infantry units can just build mangonels in the field.
I want you to notice the HuT villager count. Even though VortiX lost a lot of villagers in this pressure, HuT has been losing villagers to horsemen in his base. At least he was losing villagers.
That's true. And sometimes this can be good, right? Because it enables you to get a bigger military force, but as we can see, he's nowhere near pop cap. I think the only thing that's really helping HuT stabilize somewhat, despite these raids that are hitting him hard, is the fact that he has those medical centers, so all of his frontline troops are getting a little bit more bang for buck before dying. Wololo? Oh, the timing on this.
Oh my god.
I mean,
like, the moment this type of run-bys happen, you're like, you should be in your mind that you need to wall everything.
Yeah.
Not a single route towards your base should be open, because things like this can lose you the game. Now, those horsemen that have been running constantly in HuT's base gave VortiX enough time to actually push HuT back from his main base.
I mean, this has kind of been the story of it, right? Is like a lack of appropriate defenses, I'd say, from both players. Most notably is HuT with the lack of walls where he really needs them. But even with VortiX, you mentioned the keeps before. It's kind of felt like a slip up there. Maybe both players are so focused on the damage they can do to their opponent, they're forgetting about the damage that can be done for them, to them.
You know, it's how the game goes. Suddenly you're in such a rush. You're doing damage, you're taking damage, you just want to do as much damage as you can, and at the same time stop your opponent from doing damage, and you just start forgetting about things that can so easily prevent that damage.
You know, castles, medical centers. It varies from player to player. VortiX, I mean, this time, now that he's in, he could do some damage. Keep in mind it's going to be a slow siege in, just because the fire armor does prevent you from blitzing as many buildings as you'd like. And it looks like there is a recovery coming out. HuT is moving into hand cannoneers ahead of VortiX. VortiX, who is over-leveraged into a different form of range, the crossbows.
Cost-wise, crossbows are way more efficient gold-wise. And with Abbasid, most of the times what you lack is gold. You have so much food to spend.
I guess like maybe there's a composition that can sometimes work with the Abbasids where if you have hand cannons, you just keep pumping spears, right? But you need enough production buildings and you need it close enough to the front line to keep leveraging that. Otherwise, you don't reinforce quick enough, especially when you're in the mirror matchup where you can't even argue you've got the golden age to your side with the extra production speed. Wait, what? Oh boy. So do you, any more confessions, Mister? You ever forget that one? You ever forget boot camp?
I forget a lot of things. I used to forget wheelbarrow a lot. Especially when I came back. Like, when I stopped playing in March, people didn't get wheelbarrow, and I didn't really get wheelbarrow. I still sometimes don't get it. Like, for example, as English, I don't see a reason to get wheelbarrow. Anyway, so when I came back, I was like, just don't get wheelbarrow. And then I realized that with some saves it's good, but you just can't put something into your playstyle all of a sudden with minimum practice. You need to play a lot of games to change your habits.
It becomes kind of embedded behavior, right? It's like it's a muscle memory type logic. You know, you have to keep reminding yourself, and there's so many things that you're thinking about instead, especially in a game like AOE4 where you can't just have this perfect build order you memorize. You have to have the ability to flex to what your opponent is doing. Oh, looks like he's finally flexing to the issue on the flanks. More walls are going up. However, I gotta say, a lot of ground has now been recovered by VortiX due to how open that center was for so long.
But he's not capitulating that area. He's not establishing his control. Like, you cannot establish control with units. You need buildings in order to make sure that you actually control that area. And he's not doing that.
Honestly, at this point, it just feels like he's trying to mirror what VortiX is doing. You can see a mini group of horsemen coming in, but it's just less impactful. Oh, spoke too soon. There was a big wave behind it, and it has gone unnoticed. Oh, lordy. HuT.
And there's
He's learned from the best.
No stone walls.
Because why would you, right? You've been pushing this whole time. There's no way your opponent would go and do the exact same thing you've been doing in a mirror matchup, right?
Exactly.
I can't help but feel VortiX's frontline force, like, it looks lethal, but it's actually very fragile. If 2 mangos get built at home, that's going down, the vast majority. So HuT may be able to get the one up here, especially if he can prevent reinforcements from coming out by shutting down all those farms. Shut down they will. And it seems like VortiX has no interest in reacting to that. And this is a very slow siege through the base as well. Only 1 bombard, so not exactly blitzing through HuT's production line.
Like, he would easily prevent this horseman run by making some outposts while he was pushing.
Yeah, just to the vision logic, right? So you can...
Yeah, that's why I said you need buildings. Like, you get map control by having vision. If you don't have vision, you don't have map control, even if you have units in that area.
The wacky part is that a lot of the kind of key moments have been playing around that stealth forest in the center, as it usually should matter in Lipany. And just yet, despite that fact, as you just highlighted, you know, you should have buildings around this area. Not there at all. I think HuT was the only one who tried to play for vision very early on with an outpost, but VortiX has never been interested. That's surprising. And I'm feeling like that was somewhat of a throwaway army for very little impact, considering HuT had half of his military pop cap not even defending.
Yeah, it's gonna be really hard. I don't see a way for this game to finish anytime soon.
Yeah, you want to go get a drink? That's why I say it's like, welcome to Abbasid mirrors where nobody walls off their base. We may be here for quite a while.
Like, the only way I see that you can finish a game like this is obviously by pushing into multiple fronts, by having, let's say, split your army into 2, push towards 2 fronts because they defended advantage, with some seeds, break down walls, do run-bys, keep building your own wall.
There's the key problem there, mister. You've asked them to build walls.
Well, the less vulnerable you make yourself, the less room for mistakes you have to do.
It kind of feels like they both go back to static comps, and then one of them remembers horsemen. They go where there are no walls. And then afterwards, because both sides go back to static comps again, the walls don't ever get completed.
There is stone on the map. Like, I can see at least 3 stone mines in the VortiX side. He could easily gather them and get some keeps up.
Yeah, HuT has 1 stone vein on his side still. You can see it on the front line near the relic.
And there's 3 on the other side.
You sound very upset by this, mister. Oh. It's definitely making for a back and forth affair. I'll give it that much. But I do agree that, especially if you consider that, from VortiX's perspective, especially, actually, HuT hasn't built any siege to get through walls the entire game. Not stone walls. So, at some point, you've just got to look at that and go, it's worth a small wall here or there to prevent him.
Yeah, like, what almost lost the game twice for VortiX was the horseman run by. So you have to, you know that the only thing that can actually make you lose a game is losing your economy when you're trading in the middle.
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean that it will win you the game, but it will not make you lose the game by just losing 30, 40 villagers or having idle eco for like a minute.
But the wacky part about all this is it does feel like VortiX is going to win this game. And the detail is going to matter more than anything is that one was budgeted with their gold usage and the other wasn't. Right? Like, and we could talk about how good food and wood units are in the late game, but if you just look at the numbers, you can see VortiX is hoarding. And the importance of that is you can actually get siege to kill the base eventually.
There is one thing that is tilting me though. Have you seen any Camel archers? Apart from
there's
just
one.
Yeah.
I don't know
like
where he is. There he is! Look at him! Yeah! Get him! Okay, he's gone.
It's literally the best unit in the... For me, it's one of the best units in the game. Top 3 units, easily. Camel archers. Like, they destroy everything top-wise.
Yeah.
In an Abbasid mirror, apart from lancers and horsemen. But then you also have your own camels, so just make camel archers.
And the funny
Or
part
your
is,
opponent
like,
has nothing.
The argument would be, oh, you know, you don't have enough eco, but well, you don't have enough swing anymore. HuT is finally going to GG out. VortiX will take game 1, and TheMista will try not to maul too hard that only one Camel Archer came out. But an interesting start to the series. Definitely not, I'd say, a clean game from either side, TheMista. Definitely felt like a muddy fight to open up this series.
I think this was a chaotic game. Like, this is the most chaotic an Abbasid mirror can get.
Yes, and the funny part is like the way it gets chaotic. Like you never see this emphatic moment where it ends the game, right? In some matchups, it gets very volatile, but even the Horseman raids, because they're so deep in terms of TCs and villager count, it doesn't instantly change anything. Also, no clear staging points. And I think the thing I want to say around your Camel Archer point is, before anyone says, oh, well, Camel Archers are expensive, right? They are really expensive, sure. Let's keep in mind that HuT was pushing hand cannoneers consistently for several fights there.